Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Go Virtual Career Pathways Conference. My name is Oscar Ramirez and I work with the San Diego County Office of Education, and I will be your Zoom host moderator for today. During the session, we ask that attendees keep themselves muted unless asked otherwise, but feel free to use the chat to ask questions during the session. And I'd like to introduce Dr. Karen Miles from Academic Innovations, who will be presenting on building a bridge to your future, getting students ready for career pathways. So without any further wait, please take it away, Dr. Miles.
Thanks, everyone. Well, I just this second jumped onto, was able to get into the room. So I'm just trying to finish getting set up. So first of all, can everybody see my shared screen? And I'm sorry, I can't see you because I have.
Yes, I can see it.
Everyone.
Yes, it's up.
Okay, I'm not quite sure how to make it full screen. I've never seen it do this format before. Any ideas on how to make it full screen? Oh, here we go. No, that's not helping. Screen.
If you go up to where it says view options at the top, I think you should be able to select
Okay.
the size.
Display settings. No, that did not work. Okay. Wow. Hold on, sorry. Sorry, folks. Let me try and get that back. Now it's disappeared altogether. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. Yeah, that looks more like what I'm used to seeing. Okay, I apologize for that beginning. Okay, everybody. So thank you for joining this session today. My name's Karen, and I am the co-author of this curriculum, Building a Bridge to Your Future. It's part of a series of curriculum that go from middle school through high school called Get Focused, Stay Focused. So some of you may know the high school curriculum by the name Get Focused, Stay Focused, or some of you may know it as Career Choices and Changes or Career Choices. And so the curriculum existed in the high schools and in the colleges. But what we were finding was that many of the students that were taking the curriculum in high school were not actually being successful in the classes, which was kind of strange because the curriculum is all about them. And so we really wanted to try and figure out what was going on with the students. And I talked to many of the teachers, and they said that the students weren't really prepared to be doing career planning. Nobody had ever talked to them about why this was a good idea and why it was something they needed to start thinking about in middle school. And so this was an attempt to kind of prepare students and get them ready to do career planning in high school, and to be ready to start thinking about which career pathways they wanted to enter, or which kind of early college credit options they might want to take advantage of when they were in the high school. And so I co-wrote this curriculum together with the author of the high school curriculum, and it's been available, I think, for about 3 years now. It's been adopted in Imperial Valley Unified School District. They're using it in all of their middle schools. One middle school is actually using it for every single student, and every single teacher has been trained on it. And so that was why I was excited to come and talk to you about this curriculum today, and talk a little bit about what it does, what it's all about, and why it works. So what I would like to do is just hear from you. What are you thinking that middle school students are generally thinking about careers? I'm going to stop share for a moment so I can see the chat again. So if you could just, in the chat, put down some ideas about what you think middle school students are actually thinking when they're thinking about careers. What's in their minds if you ask them about their futures and their careers? And if you could just chat your ideas, that would be great. So they're thinking about how much money they're going to make, being rich and famous, music stars, athletes. A lot of them can't think that long term. They're thinking more immediately about what's going on in their lives. Athlete again. Are you hearing things like YouTube star? That has become popular in the last few years. Musician, famous actors. Right. So not a lot necessarily going on with the students that's necessarily helpful in terms of careers at this point. So let me just go back into my screen share again. Okay, so a lot of kind of generic thinking about careers, not really sure what's going on. So let's talk a little bit about the background for what could be going on with your middle school students. And so probably this is going to take you back a little bit to your Psych 101 class that you might have taken at some point. And I'm just adding in some information here. On the left-hand side of the pyramid, you can see there's some information about Piaget, who basically said that students go from thinking about things in a very concrete way between the ages of about 7 and 11 to be able to be thinking about things in a more abstract way as they pass age about 11. And so in middle school, our students are moving to what we call that more formal operational stage. And then Erik Erikson was another theorist who talked about the fact that between the ages of 10 and 20, students are basically trying to figure out who they are, and they're trying to figure out their identity. And if they don't get a chance to do that, it leads to identity confusion. On the right-hand side of the pyramid, you can see a career theorist called Donald Super talking about what's going on with the different ages of students going from the growth stage to the exploration stage. And in between those two stages, Super had a theory that there were these 9 different dimensions of childhood career development. And this is exactly what students should be going through in middle school. And so these are all the different kinds of 9 different domains that he talked about that students should be moving forward with and getting an opportunity to explore. So things like locus of control is very important. How much do they feel a sense of control over their present and their future? Self-concept, awareness of who they actually are. Information, how do they access occupational information? And so the middle school curriculum that we developed tried to touch on all of those different things. It's called career readiness curriculum because we're not yet trying to get students to do career planning. And one of you in the chat called out exactly what Donald Super pointed out, which is that to many students of this age, occupational futures are too remote or too uncontrollable for planning to seem worthwhile. And so they don't even feel as if thinking about their futures is valuable at this point unless somebody kind of explains to them why they're making a lot of decisions as they're going through high school that are going to affect their futures. And so they do really need to start thinking about some of these things as they're going into high school. We don't want them to be doing career decision making yet. That's really too early for middle school students. We want to be learning about the steps for career planning so that they can have a positive attitude towards doing that when they get to high school. Another area is around this is career self-efficacy. So people believing that they can actually be successful for the careers that they are choosing. Albert Bandura is a theorist who basically said that if people don't think that they are capable of doing a particular job, then they're not even going to start considering that as a possible career area. And oftentimes they may have faulty beliefs about themselves and their own capabilities. And this was another study that I found that was pretty sad, I thought, that a study showed that 45% of elementary students believed they would not ultimately get the job that they most wanted. So even in elementary school, students are deciding that there are jobs and careers out there that are not possible for them. And that's not how we want them to be thinking. We want them to be understanding that if they put a lot of effort into what they want to do, and if they have a plan, then they can actually achieve their goals. And so what we're trying to do is increase their career self-efficacy. We want them to believe that they can be successful in their career choice and arriving at their career goal. And if we can boost that career self-efficacy, it also changes their mind about which kind of jobs they might be able to choose. It changes some of their ideas about what their interests might be, what their values might be, their goals. And having higher levels of self-efficacy can also have a knock-on effect into academic motivation and into how much effort and resilience students put into classes. And so it can overall enhance their career decision-making if we can boost that career self-efficacy. Another theorist, Morales, talked about protective factor clusters. And he was basically saying that if you have a lot of different factors that work together, the sum of those is greater than what they are individually. And so we were talking about the importance of non-cognitive factors, and those are factors such as motivation, grit, growth mindset, positive self-talk, resiliency, those kinds of things. And Morales basically said that all of those things are going to be helpful and work together to contribute to the success of the student. And we know that our students are at different places with their thinking about careers and about their futures and about possibilities. And so including many different non-cognitive factors in the curriculum allows for different students at different points to be able to actually benefit from learning about those factors and about increasing those factors. So other research about middle school curriculum basically says that the career readiness process needs to start as early as middle school. And another study showed that having students engaging in career development efforts in elementary and middle school can help address social inequity issues further down the educational pipeline. So for our students that don't have very much social capital, they would be first generation students at college, or they are low socioeconomic students, then making sure that they understand the opportunities that are available to everybody and giving them access and time to think about those things and to learn about those things and to have this kind of embedded career guidance actually helps them helps those opportunities become more accessible to them in the future. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we want students to be thinking about just a general kind of direction that they might be interested in. This is way too early for them to be focusing on a specific destination at this point. So the curriculum was written around these 12 different lessons, 6 on career readiness and 6 on non-cognitive factors. And so the non-cognitive factors, or those student success factors that are built into the curriculum, are around perseverance or grit, motivation, growth mindset, positive self-concept, positive attitude, and resiliency and overcoming obstacles. One of the things that we've recently added to this curriculum is a series of 25 mini lectures for which the students can watch, which cover some of the content and introduce them to different concepts, explain different activities to them. And they were really developed for teachers that are teaching right now online so that they can embed them in the classes with their students. So I'd like to just take a moment to share a part of one of those videos with you. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen and go to my other screen. Sorry, just a second. Here we go. Okay, so let me share screen with you again. So what you're seeing now is the Teachers Lounge, and the Teachers Lounge is a resource for teachers that are teaching either the high school or the middle school curriculum. So I'm just going to go back to the home page for a moment. And it's this mini lecture series that we're going to look at just for a few minutes. I'm going to show you a few minutes of one of these videos, and this one is about staying motivated.
Hi there. In the Building a Bridge to Your Future workbook, we are on page 91, and we are just about to wrap up chapter 6. We've learned a lot about motivation so far. We've read about how different people are motivated by different things, how our outlook can affect our level of motivation, and how we can develop strategies to motivate ourselves. But now you might be wondering, once we are motivated to accomplish something, how can we stay motivated, especially when our goal isn't something we can accomplish in a week or a month or even a year? At the beginning of chapter 6, we talked about 2 things that can help us maintain our motivation. First, we have to value the goal or the thing we're trying to accomplish. In other words, we have to be able to recognize how what we are doing is important to us. We also need to believe in ourselves. We have to know we can accomplish what we are trying to do. That is a growth mindset, remember? A lot of people have a goal of getting a college degree, but if I remember right, we also read that about half of all college students in the United States don't finish. Making it through college takes time, it takes money, and it takes a lot of effort. There is one more thing it takes. Making it through college takes motivation. So let's look at the goal of completing college while we talk about how to maintain our motivation by valuing our goal and believing that we can accomplish it. A few chapters back, we talked about a lot of different reasons that people might decide to go to college. We also said that we need to think about more than just what comes now. We need to think about what comes next. It's super important to focus on finishing high school and getting into college, but it is just as important that we start thinking about why going to college is our goal. When this step gets skipped, a person may end up picking a college or a career path for the wrong reasons. For example, I had a friend who started college by only picking classes that sounded fun. Our first semester, my friend signed up for bowling, music appreciation, Tai Chi, the history of comics, and racquetball. It sounds great, right? Well, once the semester started, my friend soon discovered that there were reading assignments and homework and tests in every one of those classes. What my friend had initially valued about those classes was that they seemed easy and entertaining. But the minute it was no longer fun or the work got challenging, they had a hard time staying motivated. By choosing classes that way, my friend wasted a lot of time and money that first semester. Luckily, they learned a lesson. Instead of a second semester on a nothing but fun class schedule, my friend took the time to think about the career they wanted after college, which helped them really value what they were doing in college. That took care of the first step in staying motivated, valuing the goal or the thing that you are trying to accomplish. I just realized that I keep saying college, and we all might have different ideas about what that means. Maybe you are picturing a big university campus with 40,000 students where you'd spend 4 years earning a bachelor's degree. That's certainly one type of experience, and that might be exactly the kind of college atmosphere you're hoping for. But that's not the only kind of college out there. College could also mean a community college with more like 5,000 students, where you would spend 2 years earning an associate's degree, or maybe even less than 2 years completing a certificate program at a technical college or trade school. That type of college experience could be more like what you have in mind.
I'm going to stop the video there and just go back to the PowerPoint again. I just wanted to give you a kind of a quick look at what those look like. Let me get back onto my PowerPoint. Okay, where are we? Here, current slide. Okay, so that was just to give you a kind of a little peek into some of the content and some of the supports that we've developed for the content. For those of you that might end up teaching some of the classes online in the future. But one of the things that really helps, that this curriculum really helps with, is once the students have worked their way through the curriculum, it does give relevance to their other classes. The students can start making connections between the other classes that they're taking in middle school and that they'll be taking in high school and their possible futures. And so it solves a problem for teachers on how they can keep the students motivated, because the students actually develop intrinsic motivation and they understand the relevance of their other classes, or you're able to kind of talk to them about the relevance of the other classes, and it helps them to keep on track if they have a career goal. And this is important because research by the Gallup Foundation showed that only 6 out of 10 of our middle school students are actually engaged. And for a lot of them, they've already decided that education is not for them. And so we want to be able to have them understand how their classes are relevant. And you can do that by connecting them with their future career goals. Here are some teacher quotes from teachers who taught the curriculum in the first year. And I think these are pretty interesting. You know, they pulled out that some students had really just never thought about their futures. Some of them, it really helped them understand a little bit more who they were and what they were good at. And for a lot of them, it was understanding that their future can be more than what their parents have, and that they know they will have to work hard, but they won't have to settle. And then for some of them, it was kind of light bulbs going off, changes in self-motivation and showing that they have a reason to get to where they want to be. Nearly 80% of the students in the research project that I did to look at the impact of the curriculum for my doctoral program, I did a quantitative research study, and over 80% of students wanted to start doing career planning starting in middle school. They were already ready. So I'm just going to share with you a little bit more information about some of the research findings. So there were some interesting things that came out of the research that I did. One of them was this importance of key figures. And so students were really feeling as if they didn't have mentors and they didn't have role models, and they needed those two different things. And so they needed to feel that there was somebody who was nurturing and supporting them during their career guidance. And for teachers teaching this curriculum, these teachers become that key figure for the students just by teaching them this curriculum. And then for our first generation or underrepresented minority students that are lacking that social capital to navigate post-secondary education that I referenced earlier, this is also critical for them, that they've got somebody who can help them through that process. And they also need to have role models. So the teachers teaching the curriculum can also help to be role models, or they can connect students with other role models for people that they know who are working in those areas. And, you know, later in high school and in college, we would also hope that students would make the most of doing work-based learning and learning from role models in career fields that they're interested in. Another big finding was around the area of self-concept. So the study that I did looked at 8th grade students and 7th grade students. And interestingly, the 7th grade students scored higher on self-concept. And that's actually in alignment with what Erikson's psychosocial theory said, that the 8th grade students were experiencing identity confusion, and they were not able to actually get on with doing their decision making for their career areas, because they had not been able to spend time actually figuring out who they were. And so it was our 8th grade students that were having a hard time with trying to think about careers, because that first step is, who am I? The second step is, what do I want? And then the third step is, how do I get there? And so we were trying to put them, by having them do the, the curriculum in 8th grade, into the into a place where they hadn't actually spent time thinking more about who they were. And so this is just showing that, 7th and 8th grade, it's critical for our students to be doing this kind of thinking. And also because they're making a lot of decisions about academics and careers. They are deciding, do I want to take an Algebra 1 class? Do I want to take Spanish while I'm still in 8th grade? How is that going to help me in high school? Or maybe some of your students are going to a high school where they begin their career pathways as freshmen, or maybe they're going to a high school that's a high school that just does career pathways. And so they need to be doing this exploration before they actually make those moves and move forward. And if they don't have time to explore, it means that they are making uninformed choices that are going to impact their futures, which we also don't want to happen. One of the interesting findings around curiosity and exploration was that our male students and the students who self-identify as other by gender need more support in career exploration. The females were far more ready to be getting on with doing career exploration. And so this was an interesting finding about some of our populations that might need a little bit more support. If we don't give them that kind of support, then they may end up only being interested in one career possibility. We hear a lot of students saying, I'm going to be a lawyer, or I'm going to be, whatever, but they haven't necessarily thought about other options. They don't have a plan B. They maybe don't know what other opportunities are available to them. So, we hear a lot of students saying, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a nurse. And those are really the only two professions that they know in the allied health field. But there are over, 60 different occupations that they could be going into. And so we want them to have this opportunity to do a little bit more exploration, and not just have this one idea, this one fixed idea. If we don't allow them to do career exploration, they may not have any career of interest. And if they don't have a career of interest, if they don't have anything that they're really working towards, then we run the risk of them either dropping out of high school or not making it to the college. And we have some very high numbers of students, percentages of students that do not make it, that have stated that they want to transfer from high school into a four-year university, for example. We lose about 30% of our students who say that they're going to a four-year university. We lose over 50% of our students that say that they want to go to a community college. And the reason for this, one of the reasons for this, there are many reasons, but one of the big reasons for this is students not knowing what it is they want to study in college, and therefore, why am I in college? Nobody has ever really explained to them how to link what's available in the labor market and what careers there are to the studies that they're engaged in. And so this is a very scary statistic also, that 2/3 of students that go to either a community college or a four-year university basically randomly choose a major. 2/3 of them don't know why they chose their major. They just kind of randomly pick a major. And so we need to do better than that for our students. We need to give them this time to do career development and career exploration. And it is something that happens over time. You can't just give students a career assessment and it give them some ideas about jobs and think that, okay, that's it. That's just a snapshot of one particular moment in time. And I'm speaking to this with my background of over 20 years of career counseling with many different types of students and with the general public. And I also, for a decade, have taught an academic and career counseling class for students who are in training to become counselors in K-12 and in colleges. And a lot of that class, we talk about different career theories and about career development. So, you know, these are areas that I'm kind of bringing you some of my expertise in so that you know why these things are relevant. So another concern is that if students don't understand why high school is relevant, you know, why do I have to take this class? That can lead to falling grades, poor attendance, behavioral issues, or dropping out. And so as we heard in the video, actually having a goal and understanding the plan for how to get to that goal will help these students to stay more engaged. One of the other domains was for time perspective. And this was interesting as well. Our students who self-identify as other by gender are not yet ready to necessarily start beginning to talk about what it is they want to do for careers, because they're still figuring out their own self-identity. And one of the things that we know is that it's not until you know who you are that you can figure out what it is that you want to do. And so you know, if you ever remember having been asked the question, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? Or what do you want to do after college? It's hard for us to answer that question when we're still trying to figure out who we are. And so that's why it's so awkward for us, because it's kind of raising your hand and saying, this is who I am. Our identity is very closely wrapped up in the careers that we end up in. So this particular group may require more support than their peers in engaging in career development, and they may also need more intensive levels of career guidance support. So I'd like you to think a little bit now about the types of career exploration that we usually make available to our students in middle school. Many middle schools offer things like career fairs, or they have guest speakers coming to the classroom. But as I mentioned, students developmentally need a lot of time to figure out, who am I, what do I want, and how do I get it? So what I'd like you to do now is I'm going to put you into small breakout rooms for just a few minutes to talk about what kinds of things would you like for your students? What would you like them to be doing? And how, oh, actually, do I have access to breakout rooms? Oscar?
Yes, you should be able to create the breakout rooms.
I'm not seeing a button for that.
Okay.
Maybe you can create breakout rooms.
If
not, let's not worry too much about it. I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't have access to it. I think I have to switch over.
It might have just been the room was set up without that. So so let's, yeah, so thank you for those of you who've already put a couple of questions in the chat. I haven't actually had an opportunity to look at those until now this second. Could I ask that we just do this activity, and then I will definitely build in some time at the end to answer questions from different people. So what I'd like you to do right now is just kind of in the chat, if you could talk about, you know, what is it that you would like to offer your middle school students? What would you like them to have an opportunity to be able to be doing around career readiness and thinking about getting ready to do career exploration and career planning? So if you'd just like to add in some suggestions in the chat, and then I'll come back to the questions that some of you had already posted. So what would you like your students to have in the way of access to knowing more about careers? I'm hoping you're all typing. Okay, good. Nothing was coming up for a moment there. So career exploration and plans into around what areas they're interested in. speakers, job fairs, and trips to visit different employers. Thank you, Lita. Anyone else? Explicit career skills that are transferable to all industries. So yeah, I would call those employability skills. Throughout our curriculum, we call those employability skills because those are skills that our students develop that are not just technical skills, but they're skills that they can use anywhere. Thank you for that comment, Karen. We need curriculum. We want them to know themselves better so they can make better choices. We'd like to be able to identify diverse and local career opportunities in their community and for students to be able to articulate those choices. Yes, we need to bring labor market information into these discussions. I completely agree, Pedro, thank you. And a way to identify and use their strengths, yes. So knowing what their strengths are is very, very important here. Thank you for those comments. Okay, let me just go back to some of the questions that had come up earlier. So how is the curriculum accessed? Is there a cost? So yes, this curriculum that I'm talking about is a middle school curriculum that has been developed by Academic Innovations. They are the publisher. The middle school workbooks are $11.95 per student, and the curriculum was written to be able to either drop into an elective wheel or to teach across a semester. It can also be taught across an entire year. Some schools teach it as bridge program between 7th and 8th grade or between 8th grade and the high school. Some of them teach half of the curriculum in 7th grade and half of it in 8th grade. There are many, many different ways to implement the curriculum. So on one of my next slides, I'm going to give you a link to a survey from the publisher, and I'll actually drop the link into the chat. And then that also gives you an opportunity to access a free trial viewing period for the curriculum if you would like to look at the curriculum. So the curriculum comes with an instructor's guide as well. The actual curriculum takes about, if you taught everything in the workbook, it would take you about 54 hours to get through the workbook. With the addition from the other curriculum that is suggested, different kinds of warm-up activities, debriefs, framing activities, etc. in the instructor guide, it can actually be more like up to 80-something hours. So I'll give you that link in a moment. Pedro had asked, is there any way to assess the effectiveness of the lessons? So that was actually what my research study for my doctoral program did, Pedro. And so what we were looking at was the, what the students were reporting on the surveys that we did with them. However, in every workbook, you will see that the students begin by doing an assessment, a quick assessment of how ready they feel to be thinking about doing career exploration and how excited they are to be thinking about doing career exploration. And we ask that question again at the end of the curriculum. And so you'll be able to see from your students' answers to that survey at the beginning and end of the workbook, what their, how their thinking has changed. They also do a quick kind of a reflection essay on where do you think you want to be in 10 years? And they do that at the beginning of the workbook and again at the end of the workbook. So you yourselves will have a built-in kind of pre-post test for the curriculum where you'll be able to see your individual students' results of their thinking about careers. So the next question I see is, are there any suggestions for colleges as we plan virtual career fairs for middle school and high school students? And I am hearing about not just virtual career fairs, but also virtual internships taking place. And so the good news I would like to share with everybody is that even though we are doing a lot of these things online, there shouldn't be any fall off or drop off in the types of work-based learning experiences that we can offer to our students. They can be doing virtual guest speakers, virtual career fairs. They can be doing virtual tours with different employers also. And so, you know, I think that that would be something that's really helpful for you when you're thinking about, you know, doing these things online. These are still things that people are doing all over the place without, you know, and they're working around our kind of constrictions with doing these things online at the moment. So Lita was asking, is there a non-paper option? There is not a non-paper option of the middle school curriculum at the moment. The high school curriculum was offered as textbook and workbook only for a long time. And then I believe 3 years ago, they started offering an online format of that curriculum. And now they've actually, most schools have switched to teaching the high school curriculum completely online with with the textbook actually embedded. So we are not yet at the point that we have the middle school curriculum online. But as I mentioned, we do have those 25 different career videos that cover part of the content that can be embedded when you're teaching the workbook online. And so there are many teachers that are teaching the curriculum online at the moment. And there's a webinar that I did over the summer, which was also separated out into 12 different pieces for the 12 different chapters. And I go through the workbook page by page and suggest how you would teach the curriculum if you were teaching it online. So what could be done in a breakout room? What could be done on a Zoom? What might you want to use Jamboard or the whiteboard to get students to be kind of brainstorming? What could be done as a chat? Which pieces do you probably need to introduce? Which pieces could be the embedded video, and which pieces could students do on their own? And so that resource already exists to try to help with this, you know, this current situation. We don't have as many students across the US using the middle school curriculum yet, because it's only been around, as I mentioned, for 3 years. Whereas the high school curriculum has been around for over 37 years. And so we've got many, many more high schools using the curriculum at that level. And so the big push was to get all of that online over the summer and to develop those resources. But the middle school resources are actually coming along really quickly, and the teachers are able to be embedding those as we go. Okay, I think I made it through most of the questions people have. Does anybody have any other question for me? So I did want to just kind of make sure that you all got the point that linking this back to career pathways, that, you know, if students are not given an opportunity to do this time and this exploration, it's going to be difficult for them to actually to move on and to be able to be successful in doing their career planning in high school and to move on to doing some of their career choices. Oh, sorry, went too fast. So I wanted to just say thank you. And then let me just see if I can, I'm supposed to share this screen with you. So does everybody, if everybody would like to just take a screenshot of this slide for verification that you came to this session. I gather some of you need to do that in order to be able to receive a certificate. If you'd like to do that now, and then I will actually grab the link and put it into the chat for those of you that would like to do our survey. And if you would like to request a trial copy of the curriculum, you can do that by just filling in the link. So did everybody have a chance? I'm hoping everybody had a chance to take that screenshot. And then let me just grab the.
I've dropped the link in the chat, Dr.
Oh, you have the link as well. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let me just pull up my link and drop that into the chat. And then we should be good. I'm sorry. And then I'll go back and see if anybody else had any other questions. Not yet. Okay. So this is the link to the survey and curriculum. There we go. Okay, so if you would like to take the survey and just give some feedback on the presentation, that would be great. If you're not interested in doing the trial of the curriculum, that's fine. You don't have to check that area, but if you did want to look at a trial copy, that would be how you would get your copy. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming to this session today. I hope it's been interesting and of help. And if anybody has any other questions, if you'd just like to drop them in the chat, that would be great.
Thank you, Dr. Miles, for your time.
Very welcome. Oh, my contact info. Yes, let me just drop that in here. My email is karen@getfocusedstayfocused.org. So feel free to email me. I do not have access to sending you trial copies of the curriculum, though. That's where you'd need to go in and do the and get on the survey and get that link, and then you can request it that way. But if you have any questions about the actual curriculum, you know, feel free. And then usually when schools purchase curriculum, we do training on the curriculum, and I am one of the trainers for the middle school curriculum. So you know, you can also get your training through the company as well, and I could be the trainer that's, you know, coming to do that for your school. So thank you, everybody, very much. Pleasure to talk to you about this today, and hopefully it gave you some ideas about what you can be doing with your students moving forward.